Welcome back to this week's episode of Success Through Connection. Today, I have a really cool guest. Her name is Halle Eavelyn, and and I hope I did that right. So,
Perfect.
so great. So, I like to always tell everyone, don't forget, you need to subscribe to the channel. And let me tell you a little bit of how I met Halle. I'm going to keep it really short because we're on a tight timeline today. So, I met her how I meet a lot of people on LinkedIn. She was following me, I was following her. We had good conversations. So I invited her to be a guest. What I really loved was the fact that she has written a new book that's what we're going to talk about her book, which is really cool. She's been featured in Time Magazine, USA Today, Good Morning America. She's a wealth of knowledge. She's a wealth coach and a speaker and a writer. She helps women clear their mindsets to come up with a better vision for financial power and freedom. And she has over 30 years of business experience. Yay, I've only got her beat by a few years, but not many. She's written many books, and her latest book, which is called The Passive Income Power Plan 108 Ways to Make Money While You Sleep. Now, me personally, I call that mailbox money. I love it. Welcome, Hallie, to the show.
Hello, and I love that, Zelda. I think that's what you should tell people all the time is your next book is gonna be called Mailbox Money. I don't think we can talk about this subject enough. So thank you so much for having me here.
It's one of my favorite subjects is to talk about passive income. So I know because we're on this timeline here because Hallie has things to do today. So I'm honored that she's here with me today. Yay!
You're
Because
so
it's
kind.
been a while. So I want to dive right into it and ask you, first of all, Hallie, what inspired you to write this book, The Passive Income Power Plan? And was there maybe a problem that you saw that you said, I have a solution?
Yes, but the problem was my own problem. I was really working too hard. I was working too hard, too many hours. And I'm one of those, like, started in the trenches as an entrepreneur in my early 20s. 100-hour weeks were like my thing. I was so proud, woman in a man's world. You know these stories, right? You are these stories. But just so you know, I was very drawn in the last couple of years to passive income. I was like, how can I do this a little bit differently than I've worked in in the past? I, I'm dear friends with an older entrepreneur who is really like hugely at the top of her game, but she's in her, I don't know, she's like at least 10 years older than I am. And she said, I see you in your prime. I see you very different than I see me. She's like, somebody's asking me like, when's my next book coming? And she's like, I don't care. I'm just not that interested. And I look to that future and I think there will be a day that I do not wake up every day and say, what am I working on? And so what then? Like, how can I set myself and my future up for when I don't feel like working at all, which seems, I'm like, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I like planning for that day. So as I was planning for that day, I started creating ideas about my own passive income. Then I was like, well, other people must need this too. And then I thought, well, I can really combine this with, as you said, like I really specialize in the mindset area. And it's a shift. It's an energetic shift when we say, I don't want to work hard anymore for my money. I don't want to trade time for dollars. That is a huge energetic shift. And when you get that, that's when things really start to change. So I wrote that book so I could talk about that stuff, not just about the income sources themselves.
Okay. So when you talk about passive income, that's a word that gets tossed around all the time. You see it all the time. Earn this passive income and, money while you sleep. It gets tossed around a lot these days. But passive income, does it really look like? And what are some of the biggest misconceptions about it?
Well, I'll tell you the biggest misconception about it is when I say like make money while you sleep, people think, okay, I'm going to go to bed and that's how I'm going to start earning the money. And that is the big misconception. It's not magic money. It's just money that you have created that income once and then it continues to bring money in over time. So that's a big shift is it's like think in terms of like work up front to create a stream of income that lasts. And there's a lot of different sources of passive income. But for example, even an insurance agent, that insurance agent is signing a contract once and then they're getting paid annually an income source that continues to, to build over time the more and more clients that they have that stay with them. So that would be an example of somebody who actually is creating, I'll call it a hybrid passive income stream. Yes, they've worked for it. Yes, they're bringing in more clients, but eventually they have that portfolio. Money managers work the same way. What Where we don't have that is with, an entrepreneur, somebody who has like gets paid just a dollar amount for every hour that they work. Again, trading time for money, those aren't passive. So people think that passive income is let me not work at all. And it's really let me work this finite amount to then bring in the stream of income after that. And then there's other types of passive income, stocks, bonds, the investments in real estate, for example. Like real estate can be two different streams of passive income. I rented this house that I own to somebody and they're paying me a little bit of cash flow every month above my mortgage. And then I'm also building the equity in the home. So that becomes a stream of income over time as well. So those are different kinds of passive income. I feel like a lot of the misconception comes from this very American approach to, having a job, right, to working a 40 or 60 or 100-hour week in exchange for a paycheck. And when you start like kind of breaking that structure, then I think it leaves room for a lot of different passive income opportunities.
Yeah. When you mentioned real estate, it hit home with me because my son and I have a real estate company, and one of the things we do is we do property management. And to me, that's, you work when you have to work, but the money is coming in when you're not sleeping, but the cash flow is there, and I don't have to sit there every day and work a 9 to 5 job. My daughter reminded me
Correct.
of that this morning, actually. She says, "You're not
Yep.
punching a clock, mom." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I don't have
Yep.
anything to complain about." So,
And that can be
yes,
very freeing
it's
for a lot of
very
people.
it was, I mean, she knocked me over the head with that this morning, and I was like, you're right, I have a lot to be grateful for." So, not punching a clock, and I haven't in I don't know how many years. Too many. Not too many, but I don't wanna reveal my age. So, your research showed that 72% of adults feel stressed about money, and I know that's one of your subjects. So, how does this statistic affect women differently than men about stressed about money?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the thing that I feel is the most affected is our sense of safety. So, do enough research to know like men and women just have a different approach to money. But I'm going to say something really important because this is the other statistic that I think is like even more important than this. Women have really only had access to their own bank accounts, credit cards, and mortgages in their own name for 51 years in October of this year, 2025, right? So last year, October 2024 was the 50th anniversary of that. Now, 50 years is a long time, not really, because it's only two generations. So those of us who are, in our 50s now, we were born into a time when women were just getting access to their own cash. But on the other side of this, we've got 3,000 years of that money does not belong to you. It can be taken away from you. It belongs to your husband. It can be used to pay his debts. When you have money, it goes to him. I mean, anybody who's watched Downton Abbey or The Gilded Age has seen how women, even wealthy women, suffer when their men have bad financial situations. So even if the woman has a lot of money, it's like those rights are completely eroded
Right.
by the man literally covering her. There was this thing called coverature that started in the 12th century and has continued until like this last century. So women just don't have a lot of safety when it comes to money. And if you believe in past lives, then think about it as like this happened to me in a past life, even if it didn't happen to me in this life. And by past lives, I mean like many of your past lives were probably like that. If you don't believe in that, just think of your ancestors. You come from a very long line of women who did not have access to their own money. So that is also very unsafe. So when we have stresses about money, they're not just today's stresses, they're historical, going back thousands of years stresses of this doesn't belong to me. I can't do anything with this. And by the way, if I had a Bitcoin for every time a woman said, I did not learn this in school, therefore I am not good at money, I would never work again, because this is the universal story when nobody learned it in school, not even the boys.
I was
But
gonna
the
say
boys were
nobody.
then,
Yeah.
yeah, but the boys were then taught by their dads, their uncles, their workplaces, there's just been a different approach. And it's no offense to men. It's just for women, it's like we now need to own our power around this. We now need to take radical responsibility for the fact that we don't have access to that, or we didn't have access to that, and now we do. And so the game is different. So we don't have to play it the way that we always did.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I was probably 20 something, very young, maybe even younger than that, that there was a time when when women could then go to the bank and get a credit card and all that on their own without their husbands. And I was a kid, really. And my mom said, go get a Sears, for those of you who remember Sears,
Yeah.
a Sears credit card in your own name. And that was my very first credit card, was a Sears one, because I didn't need a guy. And I didn't have one either. So I was able to get that credit card. So I remembered those days. Yeah.
And Sears was very smart because they were like, women are the ones who need who are paying attention to the appliances in the home at the time. And so
Yeah.
Sears probably understood about women consumers, but now women are more than 50%. They purchase
Yeah.
something. I think it's like,
We're the
it's,
shoppers.
yeah, but the numbers are really skewed. It used to be like almost 50-50, and I think now it's like 70-30 or something. Like
Yeah.
I'd have to check it, but it's pretty crazy.
So when we talk about your book, The Passive Income Power Plan, can you share an example of a person that's actually, maybe they're obviously not in your book. I don't know. I haven't seen your book yet, but I've read little excerpts about it. So can you tell us of a person who's actually applied your strategies and they experienced that shift? Obviously, I do not believe in overnight successes. I think overnight successes take many years, 15, 20, whatever. But regardless, can you tell us about a strategy? I mean, of a person that they've had that success with your strategies.
Well, so the book is new, and my engagement with and my interest in passive income is still relatively new. So I can't say to you, here's like 15 people who read the book and went out and did this. I will be able to very soon. But right now, I'm going to draw on a coaching example because obviously this is stuff that I've been teaching in my regular coaching work for a very long time. And I had a woman who really, like, crypto is very near and dear to my heart. And crypto to me is an absolute way for women to own their own money, for women to control their own money, not just women, people. But because it's a very disruptive and it really has a lot of feminine qualities. It's disruptive, it has a lot of flow, and it has a lot of creative power in it. Those are feminine qualities. Just if you just looked at the buckets of masculine qualities versus feminine qualities, crypto is very feminine. And that's not in the sense of like boy girl, it's not sex gender, driven. It is specific to the energetic flows of the masculine, the sacred divine masculine and feminine. So I love crypto for women because the other thing is when a woman says to me, well, I can't learn about whatever, I'm like, well, gee, crypto's only been around for 10 years. Everybody's still figuring it out. Go with that one because it's still in kindergarten, and you feel like you are too. And then women are like, oh, okay, I can get it. I love that. I'll get on with that.
Great. That's
So I
great.
had that happen. I have a program called Crypto Curious, which is an online program. If somebody's interested, you can go to iamcryptocurious.com. But I also have taught this class live in the past. So I had a client, she was a private client that she came to this program. She went through my 6-week Crypto Curious program live. And during that time, she started thinking about a passive income stream for herself and ended up investing in Bitcoin. And she did it at a time when she needed to sell her house, and she took the money and put it into Bitcoin. And I just heard from her like 6 months ago. She said, I want to thank you for my financial freedom. I never need to work again unless I want to. And I thought that was just such a beautiful thing because crypto can change a life so quickly. And when you get educated, you understand where it is, where it's, I don't want to spend a bunch of time on crypto, but where it's coming from and where it's going. And when you see it as I do, which is as the new energy of money, you can then begin to empower yourself around it. And I actually have a free call on iamcryptocurious.com so people can check that out there.
Also be sure we'll put that in the show notes. Don't
Good, thank
we'll,
you.
we'll absolutely do that. So what are some common mistakes that people make when they're trying to make some passive income, and what can they do to avoid that?
Ooh, good question. Good question. Okay, so first, a big common mistake, and this is what I talk about throughout the passive income power plan, is not getting started. That's a big deal. They do a lot of not getting started. People are going to die with their book in them, their song in them, their play in them, their painting in them, and their passive income streams in them because they're afraid to get started. They say, I don't know, I don't understand. So that's a very big key that I teach in the book is take that first, the question I ask is what is your next smallest step? So what is the next smallest step you could take around creating passive income? And then I would say other mistakes people make are going too big too soon. So you can get started like
Mm.
if you're passive, like if let's say you want to make $10,000 a month in passive income, not an unreasonable amount at all. I have done that and much better than that over the years, creating passive income streams for myself. But let's say you wanted to get started. Do you get started with $10,000 a month? No, you get started with $100 a month. Or if you're really lucky, if you're doing real estate, sometimes it's $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
But you can get started on $100 a month. The question is, what are you doing? And can you create a replicatable system that then you can scale? And when you start thinking in term, or can you create multiple systems?
Yeah.
So you like I do a whole thing in the book about because there's 108 ways in the book. So it's like all right, look at these ways and where are you aligned with them and what feels good and what feels like something that you want to do. Because I look at some of those 108 and I'm like, my eyes rolled to the top of my head. I couldn't care less about them. But there's other ones where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the bomb diggity. And I have one of the programs that goes along with this. I actually created an audio that's called like my 12 favorite passive income streams because I want to help people hear like why I like stuff but you might like something totally different. So
That's the
it's
thing.
like
Yeah.
align with the thing that you like. Don't just go. So many people go for the job that they think was going to make the most money. They don't ask the question first, what do I want? What feels good to me? What do I like?
You gotta like what you're doing. It's my daughter has created some Etsy shops, and the first one did very well, but then she just got bored with it. She goes, "I'm not gonna do this anymore." And so for a couple of months, she did nothing, and then she was just sitting around, and she came up with a new idea. And at first, she was only making maybe $10 a week, and I just said, "You keep plugging at it, and it will grow." And just like your last one did, it did very well, but she just got bored with the product. But now she's doing great again, and it's like, it's great to see. This is like little passive income for you, so there's your mad money. I said, "And one
Absolutely.
day you'll
And
make thousands of dollars a month."
yeah,
So you
yeah.
just have to
And
keep at it.
not every stream has that potential, but you can
Right.
see over time, is this unlimited or is this limited? And then what you learn from your first stream, you can apply to your second stream, your third stream. And so it can really help you to grow. Yeah.
So, are there some ideas in the book? Can you throw us a couple of ideas that seem to be really catching on, or things that you've noticed for passive income that it's like you said, write a book. You got a book. So many people say, Zelda, I want to write a book. They go, what should I do? I go, start writing.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Exactly. Well, and I think AI is your friend these days. You're not allowed to, I mean, I don't know that you're not allowed to, but it's not considered appropriate to write a book using AI. But if you
Right.
are writing a book using AI, you have to attribute and all of that. But there's a lot of people that are creating products in using AI. AI has been an absolute game changer, and I talk about it all the way through the book because there's so many things where you can now use AI to help you create an
Right.
online program. You can help you find resources that you couldn't find before. Let's say I'm just making this up, but let's say you have like a pile of songs in your head and you're like, well, what am I going to do with this? I don't live in Nashville. That's not an excuse any longer because there's going to be some online version of Nashville and AI can help you find it.
Yeah.
So, whatever it is that your ideas are, I think AI makes them easier. And then you can also use AI to ask the questions how many people like are there other products like this, how many people are buy products like this, what kind of a market size is it, so you can use it to do all of your research very quickly, like in an hour, which you used to be able to, we used to take you like weeks or even months to do. So I would say as long as you have like a basic grounding of like, what do I want to do? What would I love to do? And then underneath of that is how, what can I learn about this niche that I'm interested in? What have other people done? But the other thing that stops people, I think, and this is so important to say, you're doing your version of it, right? Like, why is it that, a song, a popular song has been covered 600 or sometimes 6,000 times, literally? It's because every singer was like, well, I have something to say about that. And then they do. And it's the same lyrics, it's the same melody, but it's the interpretation of it that's so different. And, you'll see somebody coming out with like a recording of something, and then it's like, oh, that was Frank Sinatra recorded that 43 years ago, but you still made a hit out of it. So, same thing with products. We don't think like that, but that's how we need to think to do our spin on the thing that
That's right.
we would love.
Putting your
Yeah.
spin on it. So we are just about out of time. I've got one last question after I ask you. It's basically two. One is, how can our listeners contact you, connect with you if they want to go further into this?
Yeah, so I'm definitely on all social media. You can reach me there. If you have something you want to say about this episode, I would absolutely love it. And if you are interested in learning more about the book, and if you're interested in downloading the freebies that go along with the book, then go to HalleWealth.com.
Okay, that is awesome. And I have one more question for you. It is my signature question that I ask every single person that comes on the show. Would you please, if you could, share a story of how a connection that you had opened a door to an opportunity for you, or how you had a connection and you were able to open the door for someone else?
So I'm going to tell a story about so I have had incredibly powerful connections that I have made that have led to amazing things for others. But I'm going to tell a story about how that happened to me. I saw a guy online. This is like my next book, I think, is called Orchestrations from Above. And it's about how like the universe will do for me more than even I can do for myself. So I met this guy online in a Facebook group that I was just interested in. People kept saying how great he was in the group. So I got in touch with him. He said, do you want to come into my program, which is a program about LinkedIn and how to get high end clients on LinkedIn? And I said, oh, this is very interesting. So I end up going into the group, and I'm in the group about 2 months, and he calls me out of the blue. And I think he wants to talk about something, having to do with, like, I don't know, my call the previous week where I always ask lots of questions. And instead he said, I really want to know if you want a mindset coach in the group. And I said, well, gee, yeah, I'd be very interested. Let's have a grand experiment. Well, that experiment lasted 6 years. I coached hundreds and hundreds of his clients in every area of the industry. I could like, I don't know, I learned to do like oil and gas. I mean, I like do everything because everybody really needed mindset coaching. So it was incredibly powerful. I worked with a ton of realtors. It was a lot of fun. Then I found out about 5 years into it that he had been talking to the guy that owned the Facebook group, whose name is Russ Ruffino. He's like huge in the online space. He had been talking to Russ Ruffino, and Russ had said to him, when you get a mindset coach, that's the game changer. When you get a mindset coach for your group, that's a game changer. And my face had popped into his head. And that's why he had contacted me. So everything had come full circle from the group that I had started with and the connection that I made in that group to getting the work. And then it had turned out it had all come from the guy that started the group. And it was just crazy. Huge orchestration from above.
That is an awesome story. It's like that's how it happens. It's one connection.
Yes.
So I always say success does not happen in isolation. It happens because you reach out, and you have to keep reaching out because connections are today's currency. Connections are the new power move. So I tell my audience, keep connecting, keep reaching out. That's the end of our show for today. I hope that you enjoyed talking to Hallie. Make sure you check her out on the contact information that she gave you, and we'll put them in the show notes as well. So until next week, I'll see you then. This is Zelda Greenberg with Success Through Connections. Don't forget to subscribe.